So today I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, Courtney Swaby, to discuss mental health and more in the run-up to World Mental Health Day on the 10th of October. Hello, Courtney, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi, Diane. How are you doing?
Always the better for seeing you, Courtney.
Pleasure.
So the theme of this year's World Mental Health Day is mental health in an unequal world. And some people will remember that a couple of years ago, we did some research about men and mental health, and it really struck a chord around men feeding back that they really felt the pressure to be, I won't do the air quotes, there are too many of them, but to be strong and provide and not show a weakness. I mean, very, very strongly. But you have the added lens of race to add to that.
Yeah.
So how does it feel as a Black man to talk about your own mental health? I mean, have you experienced microaggressions that have affected your mental health?
Yes, I'm happy to say my age, Diane. I'm 55 years of age, and in those 55 years, I've definitely experienced, microaggressions. I've experienced out racism. How has that affected me? It has played. It's weighed on me quite a lot. I think what we tend to do over a period of time is find coping mechanisms to deal with it instead of talking about it and calling it out for what it is. And I think when you start internalizing it like that and finding these coping mechanisms, it can weigh heavily on you, with the George Floyd incident that happened very recently. I was sitting there and thinking to myself, well, do you know what? Am I really surprised? I'm just tired of all of this. And when you started thinking about how people would be marching down the road and stuff like that, and how we are still trying to, in my lifetime, have a voice, it becomes something where I start thinking to myself, are things going to ever change? But it felt like a moment of change for just a brief instance, because when I looked for the television, I saw not just Black my colour walking down the road. I saw a lot of white people walking with us down the road as well, and that really lifted me somewhat. If you're looking for something to counteract, bad mental health, that made my mental health quite good. I think the downside after that is, again, those microaggressions that are out there. Sometimes I'm walking down the road. I like to walk since we've been in this wonderful time that we're in now, this new age. I am working from home and I walk in the morning, but it's very early in the morning. And if I'm walking down the road, I am very conscious of seeing a white woman. I will cross the other side of the road. Or if I'm walking down the road with my hoodie on, she may cross the other side of the road. So the microaggressions are always there, and the microaggressions weigh heavily on you. And I think you get to a stage where you just accept them. I don't think that is the right thing to do. We should not be accepting things. And like you say, we should be calling, like I said, sorry, we should be calling things out a little bit more. I also remember coming back from a night out with some friends, and me and one of my colleagues who was a white female, we were walking onto the tube at Blackfriars. And I remember there were a group of white boarders coming home after a couple of pints on a Friday night, as you do. I remember walking past them, and there used to be an advert out, and there was a called Jacob's Club, and the song that was, "If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club." And I remember walking past these guys, and they started whistling it as we were walking past. And I turned around and I just thought, why are they saying things like that? And it really got me upset. But there's nothing you can do unless me fight five burly builders. It wasn't going to happen. But again, it's this thing where you hear these things and it does weigh heavy on you. And also in our culture, it's very. I mentioned it earlier on. It's something that is really unheard of to speak outside of the family, outside of a certain circle about your mental health, and going to a stranger and talking about it is something that is almost unheard of. I couldn't encourage it enough, so much so that I even trained as a counsellor, because I wanted to be able to give the same grounding back to somebody that was given to me by my counsellor.
This year, that some people might have noticed, was the Euros. And there again, there was the awful, actually, additional and overt link from mental health to race in the context of the very young, very lovely England football players in the Euros final penalty shootout. I mean, this is a huge question, but you know, what more can we do as a society to tackle this?
Are you going there? Okay, we're going there. We're going there. Okay, so I must remember. I sat down and I cheered on England, and I will cheer England on, because the England football team looks pretty much how the England football team should do. It represents England, and that's a really good look. So I was all in from at the very beginning, and I watched the progression all the way through to where we got to the final, and we thought it was coming home. And in all intents and purposes, it looked like it was. But it's a shame when something has to be relied on in penalties, because it can go either way. The pressure that those young guys must have been on, and this goes for anybody that was going up to take that penalty. And this is, some may argue that that's what makes you and all the rest of it. There's an immense amount of pressure that you and I could never understand when you're going up and taking that penalty. And I do remember sitting down watching it with my wife, and as soon as I saw the first 2 goals, I think, that were scored, and I thought, yeah, get in. And then I saw the first black person go up, and I thought, oh, God, please, no, please don't miss. I can guarantee, and I say this quite openly, I can guarantee that the majority of black people that were watching that most probably felt exactly the same feeling. So not only did the guys who went up to take the penalty feel this pressure, but there was this immense pressure that most probably every black person was feeling at the time watching those penalties going in. And then when the first one didn't go in, and then the second one didn't go in, and then the third one didn't go in, the youngest one, Saka, I just felt my heart bled for him. What I have to say, though, and that's why I've got so much time for Gareth, the England manager. He just went up to him and hugged him and said, "It's okay, it's all right." Now, I don't care who's out there who thinks it may not be okay or anything like that, but that was an immense amount of pressure for a young person. Whether it was the right decision for him to take the penalty or not, that's neither here nor there. He did it. But because he didn't execute, the England manager went up to him, put his arm around him, said, "It's okay." I just felt awful. I felt awful, not just for them. I felt bad for every black person in Great Britain at that time. And it sounds ludicrous what I'm saying. I really did. And I sat there and I just started saying to me and my wife, we started saying headlines, we can see it already. And I said, well, forget the headlines, be out on the street. Very recently, somebody told me 3 young girls, black girls, were in a pub and were watching this match. And when they lost missed the penalties, the pub, which was majority white, there was some that obviously had a bit too much, they started swearing at them and telling them to get out of the pub. And, you're female, you're black, and you're being treated in that way. I'm not going to go into current issues about what's happening around, female safety, but a black female in a pub with majority males turning around and getting aggressive with them, that is just not called for. And how that must weigh on their mental health, how that must weigh on other people's mental health when they hear things like that. It's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So, those young players and all of the drama that came with missing those penalties went far, far beyond what we saw as just missing a penalty. There was so much open racism. There was so much to deal with. We've moved on from them, which is great, but I don't think we should have got there in the first place. Had it not been for those black players who were playing with the white players, that's the first time in 55 years. My lifetime, I was born in 1966, the last time we won anything. And that was, yeah, I know, and that was the last time we came close to winning any. Well, that's the last time we won anything. But you know what I'm trying to say is that that is the closest we've got to winning a major tournament, and that was with the coalition of both black and white players. And we've not recognised that, or we've just looked at it, or some people have looked at it, just, oh, those black players let us down and all the rest of it. But hey, again, it's I'm going to say it is what it is, because that's how you feel sometimes. But then again, that's when you start piling on that mental pressure to yourself, unbeknowing, when really we should be talking and calling it out and saying it's unacceptable and we need to do better, Britain.